Welcome to RPGaymer Hype or Ripe. My name is Jason. I'm joined by Patrick as always. And
Me.
that's you. And we are coming at you with a very special episode today. We wanted to get together really quickly because they just dropped a big 10-minute gameplay trailer for the new Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
man,
yeah,
I
yeah,
feel
yeah.
like we just got to talk about it. So Patrick, what are your initial thoughts having seen the trailer and the gameplay from Eiji Aonuma? What do you think?
The first thing I want to say is that I think every year
Hmm.
at my birthday, a good game comes out.
Okay.
So I just want to say you're welcome to the world.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. What do I want to say? The trailer was great.
Hmm.
It was cool to watch. I was a little nervous when they said at the very beginning, "Hey,
Hmm.
the game is finally complete
Yeah.
and we're a month and a half from
Like away
release."
from release. Yeah.
We're like
Yeah.
quite literally, but maybe they were just being a little
That's
liberal.
just marketing at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, with Nintendo and with the gaming industry these days, you honestly
Yeah, you
never
never know. You
know.
never know.
I want to kind of spend some time picking apart the trailer in general and talk
Yeah,
about
let's do it.
some of the things. I think the first thing, I'm not sure if you noticed this, but like Link's on his horse
Yep.
and he is galloping. And you and I talked literally on Monday while we were playing games
Hmm.
about this game and if how we felt about Breath of the Wild and whatnot. And we were
Yeah.
wondering if it's going to be in the same world.
Hmm.
And you see, I don't remember the name of the canyon or the mountain pass that you get to walk through very early in the game. Do you in Breath of the Wild?
Don't know what it's called. Yeah.
But I mean, you pass by. It looks like the
The
very
same one.
same stable, and that is the
Hmm.
very same like ravine that you get to go through. So that's
Yeah.
interesting. I honestly wasn't sure if this was going to be like one yeeted continent over or
Yeah.
what. I know we don't really have any information about a timeline or anything, but did you notice that too?
I did. I'm glad you said it too, because I thought it also looked like one of the familiar stables. I couldn't tell you which one specifically, but like the way it was oriented with that water, I'm like, that looks familiar.
It's the
Also,
very first stable that
yeah,
you
I
like.
think so
Sorry,
too.
sorry. Apologies because it's an open world game, but
Yeah.
if you go with the like
The
intended
traditional path.
trajectory
Yeah.
for like people who just do kind of follow along with where the game points you to go,
Hmm.
that is the first stable that you'll very
Yeah.
likely hit.
I also think that it's interesting that the voiceover from the translator did say that it was still Hyrule. So I was like, okay, we're not doing like a Majora's Mask Termina thing or anything like that. So
I feel like
I
that's one of the only times you're not in Hyrule, right?
yeah, it's true. But I was thinking like, I don't know, the kingdom, they could be like, here's the Hyrule Kingdom, and like now we're gonna go to the Blah Rule Kingdom or something else, but it seems like we're in the same place. So
We've
I
been to
do.
Hyrule, we've been to
We've been to
Low
Low
Rule.
Rule. Yeah,
This
exactly.
is mid Rule.
I thought for sure you were gonna say like, did you notice that when Link got on his horse, he had luscious locks of hair just blowing
He
behind him? Because I was like,
also
okay,
does.
very nice.
So I feel like that's kind of hinting that this is a very different time again,
Mhm.
like which I think is very normal. Have not really seen true Legends of Zelda sequels.
Yeah.
I mean, think maybe like what uh Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages are the only two that are kind of like that, and they're more like
Yeah, like kind of
par-
paired together.
parallel. Yeah, they're just kind of paired together. Okay, so in the trailer, as you're riding this horse, the next thing I think is worth talking about is something is falling from the sky,
Hmm.
and you get your first power, which
Yeah.
is recall,
Recall?
in order
Yeah.
to go up to these sky islands. And
Mm.
yeah, that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I was curious because I was thinking like they could spin it in a way that like you would fly up there with something else. Like in the previous trailer, which I know we'll get to, we saw like a flying
Oh,
machine.
and yeah, they did say
Yeah.
this is not the only way to get up
Yeah.
to the island, so that makes
Yeah.
complete sense.
So I do wonder, and I hope that, and it does sound like they haven't showed us everything, but like, maybe you can fly, or maybe there's a magic ability, or like something else, or there's, I don't know, some other way to get up there. But I was intrigued by that. I wasn't anticipating that to be a thing that would happen, that recall ability. It was kind of neat to see.
I'm wondering how much that's going to break travel where like I know the one thing about Breath of the Wild that people were super into was just how easily you could break it,
Yeah,
like
stasis and then get on it
yeah,
and hit
with
it and shoot.
stasis and
Yeah.
yeah, and just like getting to obscene areas very early or very
Hmm.
quickly. I wonder if this is going to have the same thing, because that was where my mind went right away. Is like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I could totally just use recall and rewind this object that dropped, and now I can like float to the closest area.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree with what you're saying too, and I did not play the game that way, but I think it's just amazing that you could if you want to. And it seems like Nintendo is going all in on that again, where like in this new one, why not? Like if you want to do that and go straight to quote Ganon again, just go right ahead. And I think that's neat. Like why not offer that option for people that want it?
well, yeah, I mean, the number of times that you can climb up to like the highest mountain and just use that as a leverage point to get where you want to go. I mean, you're missing a lot when you do
Yeah.
that. But I mean, also you can notice a lot while you're doing that, and they
Yeah.
kind of hinted at that. I want to skip to the end really quickly too of the
Hmm.
trailer, and this is relates to what we're talking about with the Sky Islands. But how much did your butthole clench when Link gets knocked off of the Sky
Oh
Island
yeah.
and
Hmm.
just plummets and
Plummets
like
down.
you just plunge into the water. It wasn't even I'm gonna use my hang glider.
Yeah, that's what I
It
was
was
thinking
literally
too.
you
I was
just
like,
like
okay.
from like several many miles in the sky
Yeah, exactly.
just decides, oh, I'm just gonna land this.
Like you legit fell with enough time to think like, what am I gonna do tomorrow? Because like you're just kind of like floating as you go down, and yeah, straight into the water, which was pretty shallow by the way. Like I think I could see the bottom,
Yeah.
so it was yeah. I did laugh a little bit too. I thought for sure paraglider was coming out.
Speaking of things that were kind of in the old game, because it's hard
Hmm.
not to compare, because we like again we don't know what the connection is here.
Hmm.
It seems like right off the bat they're bringing weapon durability back,
Oh
and I
yeah,
kind
point
of
of
wanted to
contention.
know your
Hmm.
thoughts on that.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I think I did have some friends who I don't know if they're the best of friends to really judge this, but I think that they were not the greatest fans of that. Just like it wasn't fun to have to do that and blah blah blah. It wasn't a good gameplay experience. I think it was fine. I think it was cool to like try to find the better items and use them for bigger bosses, for example. But it did get a little gamey as it went on, where like I would save the what are they called? The blue ones that were from like the
Oh, the
machines.
guardian
Yeah, the
weapons.
guardian weapons. Like I would save those for like the big fights, so I would primarily just be fighting with like sticks and Lizalfolk like arms and whatnot throughout most of the game. So I didn't want to use my stuff, so I was being conservative. So I do wonder if this new method is trying to make it so like you will use a lot of stuff by doing the fusion technique, which I know we're going to talk about later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a sec,
Hmm.
because that is a big thing.
Yeah.
I personally, I don't mind the weapon durability, but I
Yeah.
think my issue with the weapon durability was just simply there's no way to repair things, and you
Hmm.
didn't know how close something was to breaking
Yeah,
until
you just
it
get
was
that
like
prompt. It's
about
badly
to break.
damaged. Yeah. Which seems like it's still there, by the way.
Yeah, you could open up a menu and see that something is about to break. So
That could be
we
nice.
don't
That could be
know,
nice.
but those were my little qualms with it. Aside from that, there because you have this like open world game, I feel like
Hmm.
there wouldn't be a lot to see if you just kind of had 4 or 5 weapons, you know what I mean? So it is kind of cool to have this, well, I kind of have to make use with what I find. And that rolls
Yeah.
into the next ability that the game released for us to see, which I think was one of the coolest things that I have ever seen, and is a huge hype for me.
Hmm.
And I feel like of all the other things that we've talked about, they've been kind of like, okay, I guess it's a soft hype. This is the big hype.
Soft hype, the hardcore hype.
This is the fuse ability,
Yeah.
and if you're just tuning in to see this now, where I mean, like, I don't know where this is along the video that we're playing in the background, if you're watching this on YouTube, but you can literally take things and fuse them together, like they show taking a stick and a
Put
giant
big ass
boulder,
rock on top.
and now you have this like cool looking mace that you can use. And then from the very beginning I was like, no, this is dumb, but then I was like,
Okay. Yes, it went
okay.
on.
Especially to see that some of the enemies could do it too, because you fight
Yeah.
against one of the little robot things and it has like a door attached to his sword, and he like totally beats you off of the island.
Yeah.
there are so many different combinations, and as we were watching this and getting further and further, like you could see Scott's interest. I was watching it with him, see his
Mm.
interest peak, but then
Ooh.
the anxiety would kind
Oh
of set
God.
in of like, oh no, like how many things am I gonna have to combine, and what's optimal and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I think that's just kind of the fun thing, right? It's just about experimenting.
I agree, and it does seem like they're using the items you get, like the monster items and stuff, from the slain enemies, and I think that's smart because in the past game you would pretty much just use those. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think you would just use it to turn in to get like equipment or like armor sets. Like there wouldn't be a lot of reason to use it, or you would cook with them. I'm assuming cooking comes back. But anyways, by the end of the game, I would have like tons of bat wings and like the Keese eyes or whatever. So like being able to combine them with your arrows to do stuff just makes a lot of sense. So like I'm hoping that it's not like some of these items are so scarce you'll never see them, and you have that same problem I had before the first one where I didn't want to use like the guardian items. So I'm hoping it's more enticing, like, hey, you've got this stuff, go ahead and experiment with what it is and just have fun. Like I'm hoping
That
that's
was
what
kind
it's
of the
like.
hard thing a little bit though with the other game, Breath of the Wild, is
Mm.
that they didn't really tell you that you were going to need stuff for upgrades,
Yeah.
especially like I just went in completely fresh, and you don't really get money aside from a chest here or there, so you're selling some of those things for loot or you're using it for cooking, and then you find out, oh, I also use this for crafting.
Yeah.
So for me that was a little hard because it's like I don't know if I'm going to need this for a piece of equipment later on, but I also need money to buy XYZ. So
Yeah.
yeah, here's another layer where you could be using these items and you could need them for something else, but I feel like that's okay because it's a part of that fun experimentation. And
Yeah.
like you were saying, one of the coolest things that we saw was that like combining an arrow with an eyeball, and the arrows now home
Yeah,
in
homing
on
arrow.
certain
Mm.
things. Like that was cool.
That was cool. And I like that they showed too, like, oh, I'm just gonna shoot it over here, and it was attached to that bird. It like went over to it. Like it seems so much more accessible and honestly just simple to do. And I mean, like, I'm here for it. Like, let's just
It
enjoy
almost
the game
seems
for what
like
it
it
is.
was too, like they gave us too much though. Like
Yeah. A little
I
too
would have been
easy.
happy if they would have done the here is a stick and here is a pitchfork, and I am combining these two things, and now you have a very long spear, and
Mhm.
or the like the stick and the boulder as a mace. Like I would have been okay with that, and they're like, you could do this for lots of things, try it with ranged abilities, but not necessarily give it away, because
Mhm.
I don't know how you are, but I like finding out some of those little like cool things on my own.
Oh, I totally agree. But I mean, if we're thinking about what Breath of the Wild gave us and what Zelda could do in general, I think there's lots of possibilities. Like for example, I'm assuming we're getting a boomerang. We're probably going to get bombs of some sort, maybe, or some explosive. And there's probably going to
I
be
don't
some
know
type
because the
of
abilities are different. Though
yeah,
it did
they
look
are
like they were
different. Mhm.
shooting out something in the
Yeah.
trailer at the end. Like I saw something that seemed like it was shooting out some kind of explosive at maybe the golem enemy. One thing I noticed though was how wild the internet is, and you and I
Huh.
talk about this sometimes, like how quickly things happen on the internet,
God,
and
what
like
happened?
our artists already memeing this game where someone drew Link and fusing it because like they had they had fusing the shield with a mushroom and
Mhm.
like the smoke cloud that
Smoke
pops
cloud.
out.
Yeah.
So what they did in the cartoon was they fused the shield with a what are the birds called, cuckoos.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The chickens.
Yeah, and like the joke was like no one's gonna hit this shield,
Yeah.
like, or
Exactly.
hell hath no fury on anything that hits this shield, because yeah, the birds would go crazy.
But I mean, like, I
So
hope Nintendo does that. Like,
I
why
don't know,
not?
that might be a little
That might be a little too
obscene.
brutal. I agree. I feel like with the other ability I want to talk about, the Ascend one, where you can just straight up go through ceilings, just a big quality of life. That's really nice. But I think like what it did when they showed that one, I was just like, the first game was already so like explore friendly. Like you can go here and just go ahead and do it. And I was like, this can't get any more accessible. But like somehow it did. Like now you can put stuff together. You can just get to the top of this building without having to try as hard to climb. Like you can basically like fly using this recall mechanic. Like there's lots of stuff that just lets you explore even more, which I think is just insane based on what you could do in the first place in Breath of the Wild. There's just so much more option here.
So I don't know if I agree that the last game was like so user friendly, because I know I found a lot of times where I was just like pounding down food on the side
Hmm.
of a mountain just to climb it, which didn't feel good. Like I didn't feel good about doing that.
Sure.
Or it always seemed like if I was at a time where like I need to climb, it was raining.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
like, you're like 3 steps forward, 2 steps
yeah.
back every
Oh,
time you're
as you
climbing
fall
up this.
down.
Yeah. Oh, so so yeah, it's I this you're right. Like this is probably one of the bigger quality of life things, because now you don't have to do that. Like you can find a very easy like way to jump up. And again, like they give you a little clue. Like obviously you're gonna get trapped in a cage at some
Yeah.
point,
Hmm.
so you can just use that ability and pop out of the cage. But it does seem like a very good idea. I wonder if like they're gonna give you the option to go in reverse of that too, because how cool would it
Mm.
be to find underground, like what are they called, cisterns or whatever, where there's going to be like treasure hidden underground in this little cave, and the only way to
Yeah.
get to it is to use a reverse ability. Like wouldn't that be cool?
That would be cool. And I mean, I'm thinking like just the ascend ability on its own is a neat way to hide stuff Zelda style or like interact with dungeons. Like that's pretty cool. Like you don't know it's there, but there's going to be some colored brick, so you know like, oh, it's above me here, so I'm going to go in. So that could be really really exciting. I'm excited to see what they do with that.
Yeah. Ascend is definitely a hype for sure.
Yeah,
Like
I
it's
think it's
just
a
one of
hype.
those things where it's kind of like, oh, oh, thank God.
Yeah, thank
Especially
God.
like
I don't have to
if
spend
I'm
all that time climbing that mountain.
if I'm retreading some of the same tracks from the previous game,
Good point.
like is
Good
it
point.
just gonna make that a little bit easier? Okay, but one thing that we passed over a little bit, and this also might be an ultra hype,
Ooh.
is the ultra hand ability.
Hey.
And this is where Legends of Zelda doesn't really just become so much of a fun trial and error experiment as much as it does like a full on maker space. And that's the
Yep.
ability to literally fuse together anything
Hmm.
and make some form of vehicle with it. And I think the term vehicle is very broad, because when they
Yeah.
demoed it at first, they demoed it creating a raft across water, which was super cool. It kind of gave me like the gummy ship vibes from
Yeah,
Kingdom
yeah.
Hearts, where like that was an ugly raft,
Yeah,
but
very
I mean
crude.
like it worked. Like it got him
Hmm.
across that lake. So, and then knowing that, oh, in the original trailer we got, this is how he made that vehicle. It's not a
That
vehicle
flying
that's
thing,
given
yeah.
to you,
Or that
or
that
the flying
car,
one.
yeah.
And that made me feel better, because I don't want necessarily there to be like, this is the vehicle you get in the game. But if you can make that vehicle,
Yeah.
that's pretty
You
cool.
don't want to just get the master cycle in the game is what you're saying?
That is completely what I'm
Okay.
saying.
I feel like I wonder if the previous name for Tears of the Kingdom might have been Legend of Zelda Nuts and Bolts. Just based on that addition right there, because
Legends
that's
of Zelda Builders.
Builder, yeah, Zelda Builders. Wow, that'd be a great game actually. I was impressed by that. I think it's neat, and I will admit I'm not one that really cares about doing that, so I probably wouldn't make like the most pristine looking and like the best. Let's just call it a car. Like unless I need to, like I would do it for the game, but I'm not one that's gonna seek out a lot of those things like that. So I don't really know if it's for me. So I wouldn't call it a big hype. But I think it's neat that it's still there because it looked like it was really smooth. Like the user, I'm assuming it was Eiji Aonuma. Like it snapped on to where he was going. You could rotate it. It knew where it was gonna go, and it was easy to just do it. So
I'm
it
wondering how
seemed
easy
great.
that's going to be, though, because I think of all of the games that I play that are like that, and it's
Mm.
so cumbersome to get things the way you
Yeah,
want
that's
them.
true.
Like
That's
I'm
true.
playing my time at Porsche
Oh god.
right now, and like even just putting things on your property and rotating them can be really
Yeah.
frustrating
Yeah.
sometimes. So I'm wondering how it's going to be when you're snapping together some big objects. I kind of agree with you too, though. Like I don't know how much I would use a land vehicle, but
Hmm.
I disagree with some kind of hovering vehicle in air to get higher, or across water. Like I think those are the two times I could see myself using it, because those are, you don't really have the options there,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
they're probably going to force you to get on certain islands creating your own hovercraft.
Makes
So
sense.
in both ways, like whether that be by water or by by Sky. So I think that you will end up using that, and I'm down for those two. But I like if you can have a horse, or if I can just like walk and
Walk
take my
there,
time and
yeah.
explore, like that is for me a bigger part of the game. But it is
Yeah,
neat. Like there's
it is neat.
nothing. Yeah.
I agree. I agree. Well, I wanted to take some time, if we can, to maybe talk about stuff that we didn't see in the trailer or things that weren't explained. Can we take some time now?
Yeah, let's do
Okay.
that. Let's wrap up with some of these things, because I mean, like
Yes.
we've hyped a lot.
Yes, we've hyped a lot, and there's some unknown hypage that I'm not sure about, but I'm sure it's going to be great. But I don't think we know why Link's arm is like black. Do we know that yet? That wasn't really
I
explained.
don't think we do. It kind of,
Uh
so if you remember the really early trailer,
huh. Hmm.
like from a long time ago, some kind of skeleton dude
Yeah,
grabbed
yeah.
Link's arm.
That's what I'm thinking too. I wonder if it does something with
Yeah,
that.
yeah, something like
Okay.
that. That's as good as a guess as I have.
Yeah, that's okay. Cool. So, but I'm good. I'm happy they didn't explain it all the way. I want some intrigue.
Yeah,
They also like that gameplay trailer. That is definitely gameplay. It's what it is. But it was not like a game trailer, because like I'm not seeing like what is the story, like what am I going to be doing, like what's my combat, what's the main objective here. Like a lot of things aren't really explained, and I'm okay because like I'm definitely biased, and I already
that's
pre-ordered the game.
that's all the Legends of Zelda trailers though, and I feel like that's
Yeah,
always how they've been, because I don't remember seeing anything for Breath of the Wild when it came out. You
yeah,
know, like I like this kind of thing I will watch just to get like a little bit of, okay, a lot of big games have come out lately. Is this something I want to put my money on?
hmm,
So that little sneak peek. But yeah, I don't think Breath of the Wild really gave you much either. So a lot of the things in the game were, oh, this is like, I had no idea. I didn't know the dungeons were going to be like this. I didn't know
right,
that, you'd have powers like this. I didn't even know that there was going to be weapon durability. So I
yeah,
think, like what you're saying is, it is nice because it
it's
gives some
nice.
intrigue, because so many games now are just so over explained, and this like mystery of, I'm giving you enough to want to try it, but I'm not giving you everything,
Yeah, I
is
completely
cool.
agree. And that's exactly what the translator was saying too. Like, what else do you think you can make? Or like, how else would you use this? Because I mean, it's coming up. So I think that intrigue was the perfect thing that we needed to be like, I'm hyped. Like, I wanna try that.
Yeah, definitely hyped up that. The big question,
Mm.
and I know that we are both thinking this, um, and this might be the non-hype for
Hmm.
a lot of people, but do you think the Switch can handle this?
Oh my God, yes. Um, I hope so, because I think that Breath of the Wild was handled really well on Switch. I think it ran great, at least for me. I primarily played it. Actually, I kind of played both. I played docked and I played with the handheld. But I think it was fine. I'm thinking if the development team uses that same sort of program to run the game on the Switch, it'll be fine. So I think it can do it. And I think there are some cleverly hidden loads in there. So like when Link is traveling up from that recall, it is
Cleverly hidden loads. I'm
cleverly
down with
hidden
that.
loads. It is definitely a load. Like that is what's happening. And when he falls down, it's also for sure loading that world, but like superbly done, because you're never into a loading screen. Like you're just going straight down. So I think they're using the Switch's hardware correctly and playing to its limits appropriately. So
So
I'm
I
hoping
know
that
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 this is something that's
continues.
going to rub a lot of people the wrong way, because I
Yeah.
mean, I know I think the most recent game to compare this to is Arceus. I wouldn't even
Mm,
say
hmm,
Scarlet
hmm.
and Violet. And the way I would kind of describe it is pretty at a distance,
Yeah. Yeah.
where, like, what are we sacrificing in order to make this game work?
Yeah.
And Breath of the Wild from a distance was a beautiful game, but as you got closer, I wouldn't say as much. And I personally don't have a problem with that, because I'm totally like a functionality person
Sure.
over like a
The
look.
visuals. Yeah.
I'm not a look queen. So I think that it'll be fine, but I hope a lot of people, like, I don't want to have to wait and hear people start to complain about this, because it's like, think of the things that they're doing with the
Hmm.
genre. Like, if it's still Zelda, but also it is this like new thing that's fused perfectly and seamlessly. Like that's really all that matters.
Yeah, completely agree. Completely agree. And I think this game, I'm sorry, I think the original game Breath of the Wild got compared a lot to like Skyrim. I mean, it's similar in a sense, but I mean Skyrim is trying as best as it can to like look great. Like it's trying to look realistic. But Zelda never did that. Like it's always trying to be cartoony or fun for the most part. And I think that it's again playing to the advantages of the Switch. It's going to be bright and colorful, but when you get really close to I think the Cyclops is the Hinox. Is that what it was called in the first
Yeah,
game?
yeah.
Yeah, like it's really only like 4 or 5 colors. Like its textures are fine. They're not super detailed, but that's what it is. Like that's what it's supposed to be. So I think if you're going into it expecting to have this highly detailed Cyclops, like that's just not what the game is. It's supposed to be more of a cartoony look.
And
So in
that's just
that
not
sense,
what
it's
the
great.
system is in general
Yeah,
either. Like
exactly.
you play Nintendo games because they're always willing to try something new and out there and creative, and that's whether it's the system or it's
The
like
new game or something.
the new
Yeah.
game that's coming out. So you have to give a little leeway for trying to be the outlier because
Yeah.
you see a lot of games that are just made for this system. For Xbox and PlayStation, there's huge amounts of overlap, but not for Nintendo. So give
Mm-hmm.
them the grace to be like, okay, maybe it's not the most stunning performance game or stunning visually, but like it's cool. And I think that overall for me is why like I maybe am a little nervous, but still the most hype for this game. Like this is a total hype for me.
Well, thank you, Patrick, for taking the time to go over it with me. I'm glad that you had similar thoughts and some other opinions too. That I'm even more hyped for this one. But we do want to hear what you all think too. Let us know a comment down below, or if you'd like, you can reach out to us at Twitter and Instagram at HeyRPGaymer. And also got to plug our Discord. We're also chatting about games all the time over there.
If you like us doing these hyper hypes, anytime a new game comes out that we think is appealing or the opposite of, we will do our best to give you a little episode and our opinions on it. We want to thank you for listening. Now go out there and get gaming.